Oh, when did you hear this voice?
When was it you heard this voice?
I have no idea. Sometime after the snoring died.
Was it before or after the train stopped?
After. After the man in my room that you have so far failed to ask me about. I woke up, heard the voice, and that was that.
I've not had the option, love. Was it a woman you heard in Monsieur Ratchet's room?
Was it a woman you heard in Monsieur Ratchet's room?
Yes, I think it was.
Did you hear what was said?
Well, I didn't put a glass up to the connecting door and eavesdrop, for heaven's sakes. What sort of a person do you think I am?
Tell me about the man you thought was in your room.
At last! No offense intended, sweetie, but you foreigners do just about everything backwards.
The man?
Well, I was in bed. I woke up. All in the dark it was. And I knew, I tell you, that there was a man in there with me.
In your bed?
In my what? How dare you? No, in my compartment. I was just so scared I couldn't scream. I just lay there and thought, mercy, I'm gonna be killed by some foreigner. These nasty trains. I just lay there with my eyes closed and thought of America. Somehow I got my wits about me and I felt about with my hand and I felt.
Yes?
The bell button. I pressed it and pressed, but no one came. I thought, mercy, what if they'd murdered every single soul on the train? I went on pressing the bell, and at last, footsteps in the corridor. I dragged on my dressing gown, the pink one. I screamed, come in, and switched on the lights, and would you believe it? There wasn't a soul there.
Michelle opened your door and entered?
Michelle opened your door and entered.
Yes, although considering the time it took him to arrive, he must have come by dog sled. He seemed to imagine I dreamt the whole thing. I tell you here and now, I'm not one to imagine things.
Did he search the compartment?
Michelle searched your compartment?
Yes, even under the chair. Although he said there wasn't room for a man to squeeze himself under there. I asked him to check the connecting door.
Before he arrived, did either door open or close?
Before Michelle arrived, did either door open and close?
Sweetie, my eyes were squeezed shut tighter than a banker's fist. I didn't see. And with the bell making all that racket, the intruder could have dynamited a hole in the wall, and I wouldn't have heard it.
Was the door bolted?
Was it bolted?
No, but I knew it had been because I asked the Swedish lady to check it when she brought me the headache powder.
Do you remember the Armstrong kidnapping?
I'll say I do. How that wretch that did it escaped scot-free, I'll never understand. I'd have liked to get my hands on him.
You could have, madam, when the connecting door was unbolted.
You mean Ratchet was the man?
Yes, his real name was Cassetti.
Well, imagine that. Wait till I tell my daughter.
Well, were you acquainted with the Armstrong family?
Were you acquainted with the Armstrong family?
Well, they were from New York, too. But no, they moved in a very exclusive circle. I've always heard that Mrs. Armstrong was a perfectly lovely woman and that her husband worshipped her. It was all incredibly sad.
I would like to dust the doorknob of the connecting door for fingerprints.
My, aren't you the little improviser? Be my guest, sweetie. Search the whole place if you'd like. I need a drink.
Mrs. Hubbard, wait. You dropped this.
That's not mine.
I thought as it has the initial H on it.
I've got mine right here. See? It's marked CMH, and it's a sensible thing, not that flimsy, expensive Parisian cambric. What good is a hanky you can't sneeze into?
Nothing else to see in there.
So I already deleted that place. Do I use this? How do I dust for fingerprints?
Quite interesting.
I know. I want to dust it for fingerprints. I think that's what that's for. But I've got nothing else I can use this dust. I can't just... cigar ash, maybe? Recipes. The thing that's frustrating me is I may have to... Oh no, no, oh dear. My frustration is I'm worried I may have to...
I won't find...
Anything else? No, okay, good. I don't want to ask for help from Poirot for something that I should understand how to do from a mechanical perspective. Maybe that. Am I meant to do it like this?
This doesn't seem to... Those don't work.
Is there anything I can actually combine? Maybe combine those? The ash with the coal dust?
Something is wrong here.
Of course it is. Again, I say I think I see a smudge, okay. Well, that doesn't do anything for me. I want to know mechanically what I'm meant to do with these. Like, I don't want to... Maybe I need to talk to Poirot about something, about fingerprints first before it'll trigger.
Ah, you return. Is there more to report to me, mademoiselle?
His menu seems to overemphasize meat details. The butcher frequently slices them even more fundamental than usual today. Work from avalanches and murder beyond the figure. Why does it not surprise me? What do you know of Klaus's movements last night?
And that is everything I have discovered so far.
We progress, mademoiselle. Now, let us see what we can learn.
Colonel Arbuthnot's still the attendant, thinks he caught the scent of a woman.
Colonel Arbuthnot saw the attendant and thinks he caught the scent of a woman.
Ah, the scent of a woman. You have found a romantic streak I would not have suspected one so stolid to possess.
You saw Monsieur Hardman watching the corridor from his room.
Colonel Arbuthnot saw Monsieur Hardman watching the corridor from his room.
Monsieur Hartmann's door opens to the right, so unfortunately he could see little of the corridor, but he would have seen if anyone entered the Calais coach from the Athens-Paris coach.
They seem to have been very suspicious. Or Hardman seems to have been acting very suspicious.
Hardman's actions were very suspicious.
And the key he discovers in Michel's clothing that opens the door to the security room in the baggage car is suspicious as well.
Ooh. Princess Dragomirov was Sonia Armstrong's godmother.
Princess Dragomirov was Sonia Armstrong's godmother.
Oui, it is coincidence, or something more.
Madame Hubbard heard a woman in Monsieur Ratchet's room.
Madame Hubbard heard a woman in Monsieur Ratchet's room.
Oui, and about the time you heard the noise and saw the woman in the scarlet kimono. So, does a woman speak to Monsieur Ratchet, murder him, drop a handkerchief with the letter H, then scurry off down the corridor in a scarlet kimono? Or does Madame Hubbard hallucinate a woman's voice as well as the man in her room?
These are not the case. I kind of want to leave it. Actually, no, I'm going to ask you about the fingerprints, because you may comment on things. On what we need to do.
I think I have secured all the fingerprints.
Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. So please to make certain next time, huh? Remember our challenge.
I don't yet have everything I need to take and record the suspect's fingerprints.
Oh.
Au revoir, Monsieur Poirot.
We'll keep talking, maybe we'll find more things. Okay. I'm wondering whether to talk about the ending in the book. And I know it's a book from the 1930s, but there's still part of me reticent to spoil it. I don't want to talk to you. Still thinking about that. Oh, let's continue and I can think while people talk.
Hello, miss. There is more snow coming, I think.
Greta, you know Monsieur Poirot has asked me to help him investigate the murder.
Yeah, I have heard this. It is satisfactory with you?
Very. Will you help me?
I will try.
Your dressing gown is brown, is it not?
Your dressing gown is brown, is it not?
Yeah, you have seen it for yourself. Very comfortable, of Jaeger wool.
You gave Mrs. Hubbard a headache powder last night.
You gave Mrs. Hubbard a headache powder last night.
Yeah, poor lady with the pain in the head.
That was around 10:40, I believe.
I am not sure.
Did you leave this compartment again after helping Monsieur Poirot?
Did you leave this compartment again after helping Monsieur Poirot?
His ankle is not so very injured, you know. I looked at it again this morning. I think he is not as brave as some of my little children.
After Monsieur Poirot.
I woke several times, of course, but it is because you were peeking out and leaving the compartment, not I.
After that?
When you finally settled down. No, I was very tired from all the activity. I slept. If I had gone out, would you not have noticed?
I'm not sure. You were here in the lower berth.
I slept until the morning. I slept soundly enough that you might have gone out again. I do not know about that, but I myself was sleeping.
May I have your passport?
May I have your passport, please?
It is here.
Greta Sigrid Olsen, 49 of Stockholm.
Of course, I am a missionary now, nurse at the school in Gemlik, and not much in Sweden.
Did you see anyone in the corridor when you took Mrs. Hubbard the medicine?
Did you see anyone in the corridor when you took Mrs. Hubbard the medicine?
Not in the corridor, no.
Somewhere else?
I opened the door to the dead man's compartment by mistake. Mr. Ratchet, I was much ashamed.
What did you and Mrs. Hubbard talk about?
What did you and Mrs. Hubbard talk about?
The pain in her head, it started at the back and sweep itself forward over her eyes and...
Anything else?
She asked me if the door between her compartment and Mr. Ratchet's is locked. I check it for her.
And?
It is locked.
Did you actually see him, I assume Mr. Ratchet?
Did you actually see him?
Yeah, in his bed he was, reading a book.
Did he say anything to you?
Did he say anything to you?
He laughed. He invited me. I do not care to repeat what he said. It inflamed my cheeks. I left at once naturally and went into Mrs. Hubbard.
That means you were the last person to see Monsieur Ratchet alive.
Dun dun dun!
I am suspected of all the people aboard the train. I am suspected.
Have you ever been in America?
Have you ever been in America?
No. Almost I go once. I was to accompany an invalid lady, but it was cancelled. I much regretted. They are very generous, the Americans. They give much money to schools and hospitals, and they are very practical.
Do you remember hearing of the Armstrong case?
Do you remember hearing of the Armstrong kidnapping case?
No. What was that?
A little girl was kidnapped and murdered. Her mother and an unborn child died in childbirth. A member of the staff committed suicide. Monsieur Ratchet was the man behind the kidnapping.
That there are in the world such evil men. It tries one's faith. The poor mother. My heart aches for her.
Good day to you, mademoiselle.
Okay, let's have... Oops, we got another one for you. Don't think there's any more. No, those are all the ones we've got. Right, very interesting. Yeah, what was there? What was I going to do? What was I thinking about? That's what I was looking at. I don't know. We've got a large number of people there. Suspects. Let's ask. First.
Yes, Fräulein.
Frau Schmidt, I am helping Monsieur Poirot in the investigation of Monsieur Ratchet's death. Will you assist me?
If I can.
May I have your passport?
May I have your passport?
Yeah, here it is.
You are Hildegard Schmidt, aged 43, living in St. Petersburg.
Where I attend Madame la Princesse, yeah?
Tell me about Mary Debenham.
Tell me about Mary Debenham.
She is a very agreeable young lady. She was already asleep when I came in after reading to Her Excellency.
What color is Mademoiselle Debenham's dressing gown?
It is a pale purple. Mauve, I believe the English say.
Did she leave the room at all last night?
Did Mademoiselle Debenham leave the room at all last night?
Not after I returned. I sleep lightly, Fräulein. You understand? Should Her Excellency require me.
What can you tell me of your movements last night after dinner?
What can you tell me of your movements last night after dinner?
I moved very little. I read to the Princess Bleak House by the English writer Charles Dickens. The sudden stopping of the train interrupted us. Madame la Princesse luckily was not harmed. I returned to reading. I do not read aloud very well, but Her Excellency says that it is all the better. So it sends her better to sleep. When she became sleepy, she told me to go. I returned to the compartment I share with Fräulein Debenham.
Right. What time was that?
What time was that?
It was very late. 1:30 or more.
Have you ever been to America?
Have you ever been to America?
No, never. I should like to go someday.
Is this your handkerchief?
Is this your handkerchief, Frau Schmidt?
No, it is not mine.
It has the letter H, you see.
Ah, but it is a lady's handkerchief, that. A very expensive cambric handkerchief, embroidered by hand. It comes from Paris, I should say.